Lily was far from happy. Actually, scratch that. She was livid. And who was the lucky recipient of her fury? That would be me, her husband, Ethan Cooper. How did I know she was fuming? Oh, it wasn't hard to figure out. As I drove us home from a gathering thrown by her friends, Grace and Owen Whitmore, she sat stiff as a board, as far away from me as the car allowed, her arms crossed, and her expression sour enough to curdle milk. Now, why was she so upset? Well, I had a pretty good idea, and honestly, she had every right to be mad. After all, I had completely ruined her evening. Not my finest moment. If I had any sense, I'd be ashamed of myself for humiliating my wife, the mother of my 3 kids. Yeah, shame on me. Shame on me. So, what did I do to humiliate her and throw a wrench in the night's plans? I picked the wrong key. You see, there's something unique about the parties the Wonderlings host. A little twist, if you will. And as luck would have it, my darling wife had decided this was the night she wanted to embrace it. The problem? I had absolutely no interest in playing along. We had never been to one of their get-togethers before, but after a decade of marriage, you'd think Lily would give me a heads up that this wasn't going to be just another cocktail party. But no, not a word. She conveniently forgot to mention that, at this particular kind of gathering, the wives were expected to toss their house keys into a communal bowl. Then, one by one, the husbands would blindly pick a key and spend the rest of the night in bed with whichever woman the key belonged to. When I finally pieced together what was happening, as the party neared its grand finale, I damn near lost my mind. I had never been so furious with Lily. Without thinking, I grabbed her hand and pulled her into the kitchen. Did you know this is what the party was all about? I demanded, my voice low but sharp. She met my glare with an infuriating smirk. Yes. And you didn't think it was important to mention this little detail beforehand? No, because I knew you'd say no if I told you. Well, guess what? You were right. I'm not agreeing to this. And I always have a choice. We're leaving. We can't just leave, Ethan. It'd be rude. Do you know how awkward that would make things for me? She argued. Besides, it's only one night. It could bring some excitement back into our marriage. I don't need this kind of excitement, I snapped. Let's just apologize and go. She sighed, frustration evident in every fiber of her being. Ethan, we do need excitement. I need it. Just for one night, I want to feel wanted, not just as a wife, not just as a mother, just as me. And it won't happen again, I promise. Then, as if that settled everything, she added, besides, I already dropped our key in the bowl, so we're committed. I exhaled sharply. It's not too late, I said, locking eyes with her. Grabbing her hand, I practically dragged her back to the living room, where the other guests were eagerly gathered around the infamous bowl, ready to pick their partners for the night. Lily tried to resist, tugging her arm away, but I wasn't having it. Releasing her, I strode to the table, glaring at the waiting couples. I wasn't informed about this little tradition, I announced, and I sure as hell am not sharing my wife with any of you. Ignoring the awkward silence, I dug through the bowl, my fingers searching for something familiar. There, it was easy to spot, with its red plastic cover. I pulled out our house key and held it up. As I said, I had no idea what kind of party this was, and frankly, I don't condone this kind of thing. My marriage means something to me, and I take my vows seriously. There were murmurs, some disapproving, others amused. A few people scowled, but I didn't care. My gaze shifted back to Lily, who was now glaring daggers at me. This is your choice, I told her, my voice firm. You can either leave with me and forget about all of this, or you can stay. But if you stay, don't bother coming home. All eyes turned to her. I could see the war happening behind her eyes, frustration, embarrassment, maybe even a hint of guilt. For a second, she looked like she might defy me. Then, she took a breath and turned to the crowd. I'm sorry for my husband's behavior, she said stiffly. I'd rather stay, but, under the circumstances, I suppose I should go. Reluctant and seething, she followed me to the car. You are insufferable, Ethan, she spat as we pulled away. You humiliated me in front of everyone. We'll never be invited back. I scoffed. Humiliated you? What about the fact that you humiliated me by not even telling me what you were planning? She folded her arms. You could have picked one of the wives. We could have both had a good time. I shook my head. I don't want another woman, Lily. I only want you. And it stings, after 10 years of marriage, to find out that you want someone else. It was just for one night, Ethan, she countered, rolling her eyes. We have so many nights together. What's one night out of thousands? That's not the point, I shot back. This isn't some small, harmless request. I've been faithful for a decade, and you're telling me it's too much to expect the same from you? She sighed, exasperated. Ethan, I've been looking forward to this for weeks. Just one night where I'm not just your wife or our kid's mother, but a woman, free to feel wanted, to have an adventure. My grip on the wheel tightened. So this is it? Your one chance to sleep with someone else? She hesitated. I suppose so. That was it. Something inside me snapped. Slamming on the brakes, I made a sharp U-turn in the middle of the road, tires screeching. Ethan, she shrieked. What the hell are you doing? If this is that important to you, I said, voice cold, then go ahead. Do it. Moments later, I pulled back up in front of the Whitmore's house. The driveway was still full, meaning the night wasn't over yet. There, I said, nodding toward the door. Go in. Have fun. Find some stranger who'll give you what I apparently can't. She hesitated. Ethan, this was supposed to be something we did together. I need you to be part of it. I shook my head. I already told you. I want no part of this. Lily, I've never been unfaithful to you, not once. And I won't be with another woman unless our marriage is over, I said, my voice tight, each word laced with the kind of anger that only heartbreak can ignite. She squinted at me, her expression hard to read. What's that supposed to mean? It means exactly what it sounds like. This is it, Lily. You have a choice to make. If you're set on doing this, then go ahead, join your so-called adventurous friends. I'm sure they'll welcome you with open arms, even if your husband's not by your side. Her hand hovered over the car door handle, fingers brushing the cold metal, but she didn't open it. I could see the hesitation creeping in, flickering in her eyes like she was fighting some internal battle. Could you pick me up in the morning, Ethan? You know, wherever I end up. I'll call you, let you know. It'd mean a lot. A bitter laugh escaped me before I could stop it. Not a chance. But I'm sure your new guy will be more than happy to give you a ride after spending the night with you. She winced, her face tightening. You make it sound so ugly when you put it like that. He won't be my lover. He's just someone new. A one-time thing. That's all. I gripped the steering wheel, knuckles turning white. You say you love me. That I'm the only man you've ever loved or ever will love. Do you even believe that? Of course I do, she snapped, her voice softening right after. I do love you, Ethan. This doesn't change that. It changes everything. I shot back, my voice rising despite myself. You can't claim to love me and still go through with this. You're chasing a cheap thrill, Lily, and you're willing to throw away everything we've built for it. She rolled her eyes, a gesture that hit me harder than a slap. It's just curiosity, Ethan. A new experience. Something different. That's all. It'll make us closer, you'll see. I shook my head slowly, feeling the weight of her words settle over me like a suffocating blanket. Enjoy your new experience, Lily. I hope you know what you're doing. It's one night, Ethan. It's not the end of the world. Even a second would be too much, I snapped. We had a future, a life together. If you go through with this, there won't be a future for us. I could feel the desperation seeping into my voice, the words tumbling out faster, fueled by a mix of rage and heartbreak. I'm begging you, don't do this. She sighed dramatically, shaking her head like I was the unreasonable one. You're overreacting. I've made my decision. You're not going to ruin my night. And what? I'm just supposed to sit back and accept it? Yes. Because tomorrow morning, I'll be back, completely devoted to you. I'll make you forget this ever happened. I stared at her, disbelief washing over me like a cold wave. No. Tomorrow morning, you'll be nothing to me. I'll never look at you the same. Not after you've let another man touch what I thought was mine alone. She scoffed. You're being irrational. I belong to you. Ethan. And you'll want me back. I know you will. Listen to me, I said, my voice low, deadly serious. If you step out of this car and go back into that house, we're done. Your one night will cost you your marriage and your family. She shook her head, her jaw tightening. No, it won't. I won't let it. We're married, Ethan. We always will be. We're meant to be. I love you, and I know you love me. You're breaking my heart, Lily. Stop being dramatic. It's just an adventure. We'll get through this. You'll see. I'll make it up to you. What you call adventure, I call the end of us. You're not making sense, Ethan. I'll change your mind in the morning. You know how. My stomach twisted. Do you honestly think I'd touch you after you've been with someone else? You will, she said confidently. And more. I stared at her, stunned. God, I never realized how foolish you are. Get out. She hesitated, her bravado faltering for just a second. But then she opened the door. See you in the morning, Ethan. I shook my head, my heart heavy. No, Lily, you won't. As soon as the door clicked shut, I floored the gas pedal, the tires screeching like the echoes of my own frustration. I stole a glance in the rearview mirror. She stood frozen on the side of the road, her mouth slightly open, disbelief etched across her face. She didn't move as I turned the corner, disappearing from her sight, and she from mine. In my heart, I hoped, prayed, that she'd call me, that she'd realize her mistake, beg me to come back, tell me it was all a stupid, impulsive decision. But she didn't. Tears blurred my vision as I drove aimlessly through the night. My wife, my partner of 10 years, had chosen a stranger over our life together. Maybe she thought I'd be angry for a few days, but then she'd smile that smile, pull me close, and everything would be forgiven. She couldn't have been more wrong. I remembered something my dad told me once. If a woman's seriously thinking about sleeping with another man, she's already done it in her mind. And if she's planning how to make it happen, she's already broken her vows. It hit me like a punch to the gut. Sure, it's normal to notice other people, to think someone's attractive, but planning to act on it? That's betrayal. As much as it hurt, I knew it was over. Our marriage had crumbled. The real tragedy? Our kids, Sophie, 9, Isabella, and 8. Little Ethan Jr., just 4. How was I supposed to live without them? But I couldn't let Lily's betrayal slide. There had to be consequences. The kids were at my mom's for the weekend, giving me time to process. I drove around aimlessly, hoping, foolishly, that she'd call, that she'd come to her senses. But the phone stayed silent. Eventually, I pulled into the driveway. My phone rang. My heart leapt, thinking, hoping, it was her. But the caller ID told me otherwise. Still, I answered. In the background, I heard the faint sounds of music and laughter. Then a man's voice, casual, almost amused. Ethan, buddy. It's Jake Harrison, from the party. Your wife gave me your number. Thought I could talk some sense into you. She's really excited about tonight. Just thought you should know. You're one lucky guy. Every guy here's hoping to get her key. Jake Harrison's smug voice echoed through the phone. She's insisting someone's going to have an unforgettable night, and she wants you to be part of it. Things are heating up. Everyone's eager to see who they'll be spending the night with. You still have time to come back and pick a key, Ethan. There are some attractive women here who'd love to show you a good time. I gritted my teeth, feeling the rage boil over. Screw you, Jake Harrison, you manipulative fool. And everyone at your pathetic little party can go to hell, right along with my unfaithful wife. I hope you all choke on your unforgettable night. I hung up without waiting for a reply, my hands shaking as I stumbled into the house. My mind was racing, heart pounding so hard it felt like it would burst from my chest. In under 20 minutes, I'd packed 2 suitcases with enough clothes for a couple of weeks. I grabbed my laptop, my shaving kit, and slammed the trunk shut. But I wasn't done. I rummaged through the drawers until I found our marriage certificate, the once proud symbol of the life we'd built together. Without hesitation, I tore it into 4 jagged pieces. Then, grabbing a hammer, I placed my wedding ring on the kitchen counter and smashed it repeatedly until it was nothing more than a twisted, unrecognizable scrap of metal. Satisfied, or maybe just numb? I laid the shredded certificate and the mangled ring on Lily's pillow, like some tragic little monument to what we'd lost. I locked the door behind me and drove off into the night. My heart as empty as the house I'd left behind. But I wasn't ready to let go just yet. I circled past the Whitmore's house hoping, though I didn't know for what exactly. Some cars were gone, but a few people still lingered outside, chatting in pairs under the dim glow of streetlights. I didn't see Lily, which probably meant she was already inside, wrapped up in her new adventure. Maybe even with Mr. Whitmore himself. The thought made my stomach turn. Eventually, I found a motel in the next town over. It was small, tucked away with a secluded parking lot out back, perfect for hiding from the world. I locked the car, bought a six-pack of Newcastle from a convenience store next door, and settled into the stiff motel bed. The first 2 beers dulled the edge of my anger, but as I cracked open the third, my phone rang. It was Lily. I stared at the screen, her name flashing like an accusation. I knew she wasn't calling to ask me to come back for her. She'd made her choice. I let it go to voicemail. Her message came through seconds later. "Ethan, you're acting like a child. Jake filled me in on what you told him. How many times do I have to say it's just one night? I'll let one new guy have me a few times. That doesn't make me immoral. I swear, even if it stings a little, I'll make it up to you in ways you can't imagine when I get home tomorrow." I could barely breathe, her words slicing through me like glass. "You probably don't care," she continued, "but since you pulled our house key from the bowl, they gave me another. The guy who got it is named Tyler. He seems nice. Said he won't pressure me into anything. He's married with kids, just like us. Since you're at our house, I'm staying at his. His wife and her boyfriend are in another room, so we won't disturb each other when things get heated." She laughed softly, a giggle, like she was telling me some casual joke. "You know how vocal I can get when you touch me? Don't worry, darling. I won't let him do anything you haven't done. I told Tyler we'd stick to the basics, just the usual stuff." He agreed, especially since it's my first time with another man. "He'll drive me home when we're done tomorrow. I'll shower, freshen up, and be clean for you. No leftovers, baby." I wanted to throw my phone across the room. "Sweet dreams, my love. See you in the morning. Get ready for some excitement. Love you, Ethan." I felt like my chest was caving in. Never in my worst nightmares did I imagine I was married to someone so careless, so oblivious to the destruction she was causing. She thought she could treat our marriage like some disposable experiment and expect me to just wait for her. I should have ignored the message, but I couldn't. I called her. She answered on the third ring, her voice breathy, casual. "Hey, honey. Tyler and I just got into bed, getting cozy, so I can't talk long." "Shut up, Lily." My voice was cold, dead even. "This is the last time you'll hear from me." She went quiet. "You have no idea what you've done, but you'll find out soon enough. Enjoy your time with Tyler, because the consequences will be more severe than you can imagine. Understand this, Lily. Once you sleep with him, we're finished. Got it? It's over." I paused, my heart pounding with a finality I'd never felt before. "I never thought I'd say this, but I hate you more now than I ever loved you. Expect to hear from my lawyer next week." And I hung up. 30 seconds later, my phone rang again. Her name flashed on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. "Ethan," her voice cracked, trembling with what sounded like real emotion. "Why are you doing this? How can you say such things to me? I'm your wife. Can't you just let me have this one night? Tyler and I are just starting, and now you're ruining everything for me. I don't know if I can even enjoy being with him the way I wanted." My jaw clenched. "Good. But we're not getting divorced. I'll be home in the morning and we can sort this out." I'd come home now, but I promised Tyler I'd stay. "Please understand. I have to do this. He got my key, and I promised." She hesitated, her voice lowering. "He really wants it now." "Oh yes, right now, while I'm talking to you. I have to go." "Oh God, Tyler is ready." She giggled again, like it was all some joke. "I love you, Ethan. I'll always love you. Please don't say this ends us. When I do this with him, it doesn't have to be over. There's nothing I can do now. He's here. Oh God, please." "Oh yes." I heard her whisper, faint but clear. "Sleep with me, Tyler. This is my night." The line went dead. I stared at my phone, my hand trembling. Against my better judgment, I called her back. It rang several times before going to voicemail, meaning Tyler had probably already claimed what used to be mine. So I left a message. After hearing Lily's last voicemail, the reality hit me like a freight train. Tyler already had her, and from the sound of it, she was enjoying every minute. I clenched my jaw, the words spilling out of me as I left my final message. Spend the night with Tyler, Lily. Feel all the new sensations he gives you. You've shattered my heart, and I'll never forgive you for that. It's funny, you kept your promise to a man you just met, but you couldn't uphold the vows you made to me, the man who's loved you and stayed faithful for over 10 years. I don't even recognize you anymore. You won't see me in the morning. You may never see me again. I paused, my heart pounding with a mix of rage and despair. Next week, you'll be served with divorce papers. I'll be filing on grounds of infidelity. Now that you've given yourself to Tyler, I can only imagine what else you've allowed. Congratulations, Lily. You're officially a cheating adulterer. From now on, you can sleep with any man you want, as much as you want. But just in case you care, you've lost me forever. And that's a promise I intend to keep. I hung up, the finality of it echoing in the silence of the motel room. Lily never called back. Not that it mattered. I knew her well enough to realize that once she was involved with someone, everything else faded into the background. She became completely absorbed, lost in the moment, oblivious to the world beyond the sheets. Whether she heard my last message or not was irrelevant. The damage was done, irreparable. Our marriage was over. I finished the rest of the six-pack, each sip dulling the edge of heartbreak but never fully numbing the pain. I didn't want to imagine her lying in Tyler's bed, the woman who, until that night, had been mine alone. But the images came anyway, uninvited and relentless. I could almost hear her voice, the sound she made, the way she'd once called my name in the dark. Eventually, the exhaustion overtook me, and I drifted into a restless sleep, tears still wet on my face. When I woke up a few hours later, the weight of reality crashed down on me. My wife had betrayed me. The woman I'd built a life with had thrown it all away for a night of excitement with a stranger. It wasn't just the act. It was the betrayal, the disregard for everything we'd shared. I needed a plan, a way to protect my kids, to sever ties with Lily, and maybe even find some justice for the humiliation she'd inflicted. We lived in Biloxi, Mississippi, a picturesque coastal town with its share of charm and history. Thankfully, Mississippi recognizes infidelity as grounds for divorce. Maybe, just maybe, that would work in my favor. I could avoid paying spousal support, and if I played my cards right, I might even secure custody of the kids. I needed a good lawyer. No, a great one. After a quick shower and change of clothes, I called my mom. It was 7:30 in the morning, but I didn't care. I needed to hear her voice, to feel grounded in something familiar. She was stunned, her disbelief mirroring my own. She promised to keep things quiet around the kids, who were still at her house for the weekend. I told her I'd pick them up once I had a clearer plan. As much as it hurt to admit, Lily had been a devoted mother. Until last night, I'd thought of her as a faithful wife too. But that image had been shattered, just like everything else. After the call, I drove to a nearby diner, hoping a hot meal might help clear my head. But before I could even park, my phone rang. It was Lily. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the answer button, but I let it go to voicemail. She didn't leave a message. Instead, she called again and again. By the fifth call, she finally left one. Her voice was raw, choked with tears. "Ethan, please answer the phone. Talk to me. Damn it. What do you mean? You might never see me again. And why are you talking about divorce papers? You can't leave me, Ethan. I won't let you. Our kids need us both." I gritted my teeth, my heart battling between rage and heartbreak. Dear God, Ethan, why did you tear up our marriage certificate? Why did you get rid of your wedding ring? I gave you that ring on our wedding day. You promised to wear it forever. It symbolizes our love. I scoffed quietly. Symbolizes our love? She had the audacity to talk about love after what she'd done? I knew you'd be upset, but I never thought you'd go this far. I love you, Ethan. I just needed that night with Tyler. And yes, it was special. He made me feel young again. I'd forgotten what it's like to laugh and scream at the same time. Her words cut deeper than any knife. But as wonderful as last night was, you're my man, Ethan. My only man. I know how to make it right. Please come home. Let me show you how much I love you. Let me fix this. Her voice broke into sobs, the sound jagged and raw. Damn it, Ethan. Why can't you see? I just needed one night. I needed to feel desired again. To know I'm still wanted. Tyler made me feel that. It felt good to be craved, to be the reason someone couldn't wait to touch me. I stood outside the diner, gripping my phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. You don't understand. It was just coition. That's all it was. He didn't mean anything. He simply had coition with me. Please, Ethan, let's talk. I love you. You and the kids, you're my whole world. Her voice grew softer, trembling with regret, or maybe just guilt. It was just coition, Ethan. Oh God. He only had me a few times. We were just engaging in coition. That's all. The message ended with the faint sound of her sobbing. I stood there, stunned, numb. My mind raced with memories of our life together, now tainted and twisted. Had she felt this emptiness all along? Was I blind? Or had she been hiding it behind fake smiles and hollow words? Lily was still beautiful, shoulder-length dark brown hair, piercing blue eyes, and a figure that turned heads. Sure, motherhood had left its mark, but she was stunning. I'd always made sure she knew that. Flowers, date nights, surprise gifts, compliments. I'd done it all. So why wasn't it enough? I walked into the diner, sat at a corner booth, and ordered scrambled eggs, toast, and black coffee. But my appetite was gone. I stared at the food, untouched, while I downed cup after cup of coffee, hoping the bitterness would drown out the taste of betrayal lingering on my tongue. I had never felt so lost, so hollow, so utterly defeated. I'd heard people say they wished they could just disappear, and for the first time, I understood. But the thought of my children kept me anchored. They were the only thing standing between me and the abyss Lily had shoved me into. I had to be strong, for them. I had to navigate the mess she'd created and carve out a future that didn't include her. That realization sparked something inside me. A flicker of determination in the darkness. I would endure. I just needed a plan. Lily called incessantly that day. My phone lit up over and over with her name, but I sent every call to voicemail. She left messages, her voice dripping with desperation. Not for forgiveness, but for understanding. That was the part that hit hardest. Not once did she apologize. No regret, no acknowledgement of the pain she'd caused. Just the same hollow excuses. It was only one night. It didn't mean anything. You should understand. She even had the audacity to clarify the details, as if that would somehow soften the blow. It was just carnal activity, she'd said. Only 3 times during the night, and again in the morning. That's it. Like saying it out loud made it less real. Less devastating. She mentioned she'd worried I might have heard more than I should have, afraid she hadn't turned off her phone in time. She hoped I hadn't heard too much. I had to give her credit. She knew exactly how to twist the knife. But if there was a silver lining, it was that I now had undeniable audio evidence of her infidelity. I wasn't sure how far it would get me in court, but it was raw, real, and left nothing to the imagination. Tomorrow, I'd find a lawyer. Later that day, I visited my kids at my mother's house. As soon as I walked through the door, their faces lit up, and for a brief, fleeting moment, the ache in my chest faded. They asked about their mom, of course. I told them she was working on a special project, and they'd be staying with Grandma a little longer. They didn't press. We played, had dinner, and when it was time to leave, I hugged them like I was trying to memorize the feeling. Before I left, my mom pulled me aside. She said Lily had already called, checked on the kids, asked about me. Mom had told her the truth, that I was devastated and had no interest in talking. Apparently, Lily started crying, saying she didn't understand why I was being so cold. Because no man would understand why a wife would rub her night with another man in her husband's face. My mom had told her bluntly. Lily asked if she should come pick up the kids. Mom suggested it'd be best if they stayed with her a few more days. Let things cool down. Driving back to the motel, I couldn't shake the heaviness. Before calling it a night, I took one last detour. I drove past our house. As soon as I saw it, tears welled up. That was supposed to be our home, the life we'd built. Now it just felt like an empty shell. Oddly enough, there were no unfamiliar cars in the driveway. Maybe whoever she was with had parked in the garage. The soft glow from the kitchen window told me she was likely alone. I should have just kept driving, but I didn't. I parked a block away, my curiosity gnawing at me. Approaching the side of the house, I peeked through the kitchen window. There she was, sitting alone at the table, a half-empty bottle of Grey Goose beside her. Her hair was a mess, mascara smudged down her cheeks. She was wearing a robe, slouched forward, her face buried in a pile of crumpled tissues. For a moment, a pang of sympathy flickered. Despite everything, a part of me still cared. But then, like a cold slap, the memories rushed back. The voicemails, the laughter with Tyler, her total disregard for me, for our family. That fleeting sympathy turned to ice. I walked back to my car, a twisted sense of satisfaction creeping in. Maybe she was finally feeling the weight of her choices. If she needed comfort, she could call Tyler. Monday arrived, and I had work to do. I started the day at the diner, scarfing down eggs, toast, and coffee. My first real meal since it all began. Afterward, I called my mom, checked in with the kids, and reassured them I'd be back soon. Then I contacted my office, told my assistant I'd be out for personal reasons, and to call me only if something urgent came up. Next, I reached out to an old friend, Brian Foster. We'd been tight back in college at Ole, Mississippi. Brian was in business now, but it was our mutual friend, Lucas Bennett, I really needed to talk to. Lucas had gone into law, and I needed his expertise. Brian agreed to set up a meeting. We planned to meet at Lava Bar, a spot by the beach, around 5 p.m. I arrived early, letting the salty breeze clear my head. Lucas showed up first, looking sharp as ever, followed by Brian 10 minutes later. We exchanged quick hugs and ordered beers, raising our glasses in a silent toast to, well, whatever was left of me. So, what's going on, Ethan? Brian asked, his brow furrowed with concern. Your call sounded serious. I didn't sugarcoat it. Lily cheated on me. And she didn't just cheat. She flaunted it. No remorse. Thinks I'm overreacting. Their reactions were exactly what I needed. Shock, disbelief, sympathy. But it was Lucas's practical mindset I was counting on. So, what's the plan? Lucas asked, leaning forward. I'm filing for divorce, I said flatly. But I want more than that. I want custody of the kids. And I want to make sure Lily feels every ounce of the pain she's caused. Lucas nodded slowly, choosing his words carefully. It won't be easy, Ethan. Unless she's unfit as a mother, custody battles are tough. If she's bringing strange men around the kids or putting them at risk, that helps your case. Otherwise, it's an uphill fight. I sighed, taking a long pull from my beer. She's been a good mom. But after this, I don't know who she is anymore. Start documenting everything, Lucas advised. Texts, voicemails, especially those messages. They're your leverage. And if she slips up, you'll be ready. I nodded, my mind already racing with strategies. The night ended with more drinks, more talk, and the smallest flicker of hope. For the first time in days, I didn't feel completely adrift. I'm fine with that, as long as I have frequent access to the kids, I told Lucas, my voice steady despite the storm churning inside me. That's manageable, Lucas replied with a reassuring nod. Courts generally prefer both parents to be involved in their children's lives, as long as both are competent caregivers. Brian leaned in, his brows furrowed. What about finances? Lily's a stay-at-home mom, right? I assume you're pulling in a decent six-figure income. How's everything looking on that front? Checking, savings, investments, retirement accounts? I sighed, running a hand through my hair. I've got all of those. Between everything, savings, 401k, IRA, I'd say around $700,000 to $800,000, maybe a little more. Lucas let out a low whistle. Well, the court will likely split that evenly. Lily'll probably get the house along with custody if it comes to that. But if you can prove infidelity, which sounds pretty solid based on what you've told us, You might avoid alimony payments, Brian added. Do you know a good divorce attorney? Lucas nodded. Actually, yeah. One of the partners at my firm is Chloe Reynolds, top-notch family law attorney here in Mississippi. Want me to set up a meeting? Absolutely. The sooner, the better, I said without hesitation. Brian chimed in the meantime, send me all your financial details. I'll see what we can do to protect your assets, at least partially. We clinked glasses one last time before parting ways, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt a strange sense of relief. Not hope exactly, but purpose. A plan. As I drove back to the motel, my mind raced with everything I needed to do. Then my phone buzzed. Lily. Again. I hesitated, thumb hovering over the screen. But eventually, I pulled over and answered. Sooner or later, I'd have to face her voice. What do you want, Lily? My words were sharp, cold. No more soft landings. Her voice was thick with tears. What do you think I want, Ethan? I want my husband to come home where he belongs. Unfortunately, your little escapade with Tyler makes that impossible. Don't say that, Ethan. Don't you dare say that. I spent just one night away from you after 10 years. That's not grounds for divorce. Think again, I snapped. In Mississippi, infidelity is grounds for divorce. Why do you keep calling it cheating? It was just one night with someone new. Just a fling. When a married woman sleeps with someone else, whether it's for one night or 1 minute, it's cheating, Lily. I told you. The second you had sex with another man, it'd be over. I wasn't kidding. She sobbed, the sound raw and desperate. Oh God, please, Ethan. You can't do this to me. You did this to yourself. My grip tightened on the steering wheel as my anger boiled over. What the hell happened to you, Lily? Are you on something? Did you have some kind of mental breakdown? Or are you just incredibly selfish? She didn't respond. It seems to me, I continued, my voice low and fierce, that you were so obsessed with the idea of sleeping with another man that you didn't give a damn about me or our kids. You just had to do it. Well, congrats. You did it. And now you get to live with the consequences. I thought we were happy, she whispered. Yeah, we were happy. Nice house, 3 amazing kids. A great life. And you burned it to the ground for one night with a stranger. I love you, Ethan, she whimpered. I was curious. It was one night. I just wanted to know what it would be like. I laughed, bitter and hollow. No injury, huh? For some reason, you can't seem to grasp the damage you've done. You didn't just try something new. You shattered our family. You broke my heart. You stomped all over our vows like they meant nothing. She tried to speak, but I cut her off. Do you even remember me? The man who's loved you without question since the day I met you? The one who worked his ass off to give you and our kids everything you ever wanted? You threw that all away for Tyler. A guy who probably doesn't even remember your last name. It wasn't like that, she cried. I didn't think I was hurting you. I needed to feel something different. It wasn't about you, Ethan. Exactly, I snapped. It was never about me, or our kids. It was all about you. You didn't think about anyone but yourself. She was sobbing now, her breath ragged. I deserve a special night just for me, she whispered. Well, congratulations, Your Highness. You got your special night. And it cost you your marriage, your family, and probably your dignity. There might come a day when I forgive you, but I'll never forget. And I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what you did. Ethan, no, please. My parents would be devastated if they found out. Too bad, Lily. You should have thought about that before you threw everything away. Actions have consequences. You're acting like I murdered someone. No, Lily. What you did was worse in some ways. You murdered us. You murdered the life we built, the trust we had. And for what? A few hours with a man who'll forget you the moment you leave his bed. She fell silent, her sobs the only sound on the line. You seem to think what you did is like getting a parking ticket, something minor you can just brush off. But you traded a solid 10-year marriage for a fling. You feel good about that? You feel powerful knowing Tyler slept with you 4 times, and it cost you your family? I didn't have to lose anything, Ethan, she whispered. You should have loved me enough to support me and let me do it. Lily's voice came through the phone, filled with frustration and desperation. I felt my chest tighten, the words hitting me like a slap. There isn't a single sane man on this planet who would support his wife having an affair just because she wanted to try someone new, Lily. It doesn't work that way, and you should have known that. She didn't miss a beat. I didn't expect you to be so upset about it. I mean, seriously, Ethan, what's the big deal about letting another man sleep with me multiple times? It's not like I love you any less. I gripped the phone tighter, my knuckles white. What were you thinking, Lily? What possibly went through your mind that led you to this? Her tone grew defensive. I'd heard about couples hooking up at the Whitmore's parties. It intrigued me. Why can't a husband or wife have a night of fun with someone new? Someone nice and safe? Just to explore, experience new sensations. That's all I wanted, to know what it felt like. I closed my eyes, shaking my head. It's not just about the act. It's about the betrayal. It didn't mean I love you any less, Ethan, she insisted. It was just one night. I needed that experience, and then I was going to fully commit to you again. Never do it again. But that's the problem, Lily. That means you didn't respect me. I begged you not to do it, over and over again, and you just smiled and said, "See you in the morning." She sighed, her voice softening like that would make it better. Ethan, you're the one who's taken away what we had. The closeness, the connection we shared for over 10 years. The vows we made. You're the one breaking that now. I let out a bitter laugh. No, Lily. You broke that the second you gave yourself to another man. Our bodies created 3 beautiful children who love us both, and you took that sacred connection, the one that built our family, and handed it to someone else. For what? A one-night stand? A new experience? You want me to accept it, move on, and pretend it never happened? I could hear her sniffling, but I didn't stop. You say it was just one night, but to me, it was a complete abandonment of me, our family, our sacred vows. You wanted to be with another man, and you did it. Congratulations. But in doing so, you threw away everything you claimed to value. My voice cracked, emotions catching in my throat. Part of me still loves you, Lily, but I can never be part of your life again. Damn it, Ethan, she snapped, her frustration boiling over. Why are you so stubborn? Why can't you understand that it was just something I needed? I'm yours forever. Nothing has changed. Everything's different now, Lily. You're not just mine anymore. That's the part you can't seem to understand. I pleaded with you not to do this. I can't just forgive and forget. You betrayed me, willingly. And that pain? It'll last a lifetime. There was silence on the line, just her soft sobs. Then I spoke the words I'd been holding back. I found a lawyer. Tomorrow, I'm filing for divorce, citing infidelity. I'll name Tyler and anyone else I can identify from that little gathering of yours. Imagine their faces when they find out you're responsible for breaking up their circle and possibly damaging their reputations. Go to hell, Lily, and take your cheating friends with you. The next day, I met with Chloe Reynolds, the divorce attorney Lucas had recommended. The moment I sat across from her, I knew she was the right person for the job. Sharp, direct, no nonsense. She got straight to the point. Why are you seeking a divorce, and what are your expectations? I laid it all out. I expect to split assets with Lily, but I'm willing to give her the house in exchange for more of our liquid assets. I know I probably won't get full custody of the kids, but I want unrestricted visitation, and I don't want to pay child support. I handed her the audio recordings, Lily's own words, her careless confessions about Tyler. Chloe listened intently, shaking her head in disbelief. Your wife really left you with this? On record? Repeated confessions of infidelity? Yeah, I muttered. She didn't think it mattered. Well, unless we get an exceptionally biased judge, this will hold up in court. But we'll bring in a voice recognition expert to confirm it's her, just to be thorough. We spent the next hour mapping out a strategy, not just for the divorce, but for dealing with Tyler and anyone else from that party. While Chloe doubted we could pursue financial compensation from them, she suggested we could expose their activities in ways that had hit them where it hurt, their reputations. Public shame can be a powerful weapon, she said with a wry smile. That'll be enough for me. After paying her retainer, I asked her to serve Lily the papers as soon as possible. She assured me it wouldn't take long and promised to notify me beforehand. On Tuesday afternoon, I picked up the kids from my mom's house and drove them back to Lily's. When she opened the door, she greeted them with hugs and kisses, tears welling in her eyes when she saw me. She reached out, as if expecting me to fall back into her arms. I stepped back. Her face crumpled. "Ethan, please stay." "I can't." My voice was flat, emotionless. "But I thought it'd be best for the kids to come home. I arranged to pick them up again that Friday for the weekend." She looked broken, standing there in the doorway, tears streaking down her face. And as much as I hated her for what she'd done, a small part of me still felt something, a flicker of the love we'd once shared. But she'd made her choice. This was the bed she made. On Wednesday, I returned to work. I needed the distraction. The routine helped dull the edges of my grief, kept me from spiraling. If I let myself drown in it, I'd lose my mind, and I couldn't afford that. Not for my kids. By Thursday, I met up with Brian and Lucas again, this time for dinner at the Oyster House. We laughed, we drank, and for a few hours, it almost felt normal. I updated them on the divorce, the kids, everything. Brian suggested some ways to protect my assets, and I gave him the green light to proceed. Though it wasn't much, the plan Lucas and I devised felt like a step forward, a small victory in the long game of reclaiming my life. The goal was simple: disrupt the wife-swapping circle without risking slander accusations. Lucas had a friend at the Biloxi Sun-Herald, a reporter eager to dig into the story. He was confident that if I provided the location of Whitmore's house and the approximate times of their gatherings, his friend could uncover the identities of some participants. The strategy was to craft an editorial exposing the wife-swapping scene in Biloxi as larger and more pervasive than people thought. Photos would capture couples coming and going, faces blurred, names omitted. But in a town like ours, it wouldn't take long for the moral majority to piece things together. The article would hint at involvement from well-known business owners, lighting a firestorm of outrage without needing to point fingers directly. I handed over the details I had, and Lucas assured me they'd take it from there. With that, we shook hands, a quiet understanding passing between us. For the first time since Lily's betrayal, I felt a sense of control returning. That weekend with the kids was exactly what I needed. We went shopping for new clothes, caught a movie at Disney's Grand 18 in D'Iberville, and spent a perfect afternoon at the beach, laughing, tossing frisbees, and letting the salt water wash away some of my bitterness. My children were my anchor, and I silently vowed never to let them feel the weight of what their mother had done. They deserved better. Monday morning, Lucas called. "The article's in motion," he said. "My friend at the Sun-Herald is already staking out Whitmore's house. He's got a camera, taking shots of couples going in and leaving with different partners. Faces will be blurred, but let's be real, people around here aren't blind." I smiled for the first time in days. Sounds promising. If all goes well, it could hit the front page by next week. Lily kept calling, over and over, promising to do anything to make me forget what she'd done, except for the one thing that mattered: apologizing. Not once did she admit fault. Not once did she say, "I'm sorry." On Wednesday, my lawyer called. "Lily will be served with divorce papers Friday morning," Chloe informed me. Good. The waiting had been the hardest part. Later that day, Brian reached out. He'd managed to legally move about a third of my assets into accounts under the kids' names, protecting them from any claims Lily might make. It wasn't much compared to everything we'd built, but it was enough to give me some peace of mind. Friday arrived. At 2:30 p.m., Chloe confirmed Lily had been served. Right on cue, my phone rang. "Lily." I answered, my voice steady. "Hi, Lily. How are you?" Her tone was sharp, seething with rage and disbelief. "What did you do, Ethan?" "I filed for divorce, as I told you I would." "You're not divorcing me," she snapped. "You've reported me for treason. Spending one night with another man isn't cheating, Ethan." I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. "I have to disagree. Having an affair with someone outside your marriage is literally the definition of infidelity here in Mississippi." Her voice cracked. "Why are you so angry with me? I love you." "Yeah? Well, Tyler didn't seem to be an issue when you were with him." She sobbed. "Tyler and I had an affair, that's all." "My mistake, Lily." I replied, my voice dripping with sarcasm. How foolish of me to think sleeping with someone else was cheating. It's over. I warned you, begged you, not to do it, but you did it anyway. And now you get to face the consequences. Before she could respond, I added, and I don't think your troubles are over. Goodbye, Lily. I wish you a happy life. I hung up. The hardest part wasn't the divorce or even Lily's betrayal. It was knowing I still loved her. I probably always would. But love without trust is nothing more than a memory, and the trust was long gone. That night, curiosity got the better of me. I drove past Whitmore's house, telling myself it was just to see if Lily's car was there. It wasn't. Relief mixed with an uncomfortable realization. Even after everything, part of me still cared. Across the street, I spotted a van, likely the reporter's stakeout vehicle. I hoped he captured everything. By Sunday, the article was front-page news. The headline screamed scandal, accompanied by blurred photos of couples entering and leaving the infamous house. Despite the blurred faces, people were easily identifiable by their cars, their clothes, their recognizable postures. It was Biloxi's elite, exposed for all to see. Inside, a 4-page spread showcased over a dozen more images, alongside a scathing editorial about moral decline, hidden affairs, and secret indulgences. The city erupted. Radio hosts, pastors, and community leaders flooded the airwaves with outrage. Lawsuits followed, but they went nowhere. The damage was done. Prominent companies lost clients. Families fractured. Marriages crumbled. And for me, it was the sweetest revenge. Lily kept trying to reconcile for months, but it was pointless. Her calls went unanswered, her pleas ignored. The divorce finalized smoothly since she didn't contest anything. I secured joint custody of the kids, alternating weeks. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. Out of spite or perhaps mercy, I chose not to expose the audio recordings to her family. She spared herself that humiliation by signing the papers without a fight. As for the couples from the key parties, some divorced and disappeared, while others stayed, their reputations forever tainted. Lily dated again, oblivious to the depth of her betrayal and why it had destroyed us. That wasn't my problem anymore. I even wished her future partner good luck. He'd need it. I dated casually after the dust settled, met a few good women, but commitment felt like a foreign language. Some wanted to move in, to merge lives, but I couldn't bring myself to hand over a key. Keys held too much weight now.